Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're getting a look at the final Deluxe class figure that we're going to review for the new Transformers Legacy Velocitron Speedia 500 collection. And this is G2 Universe Road Rocket. As the title implies, Road Rocket is a character from the Generation 2 toy line, though this time she's been given a bit of a new spin, and you may have already caught that in that sentence. This time Road Rocket is a she. And there's a whole story behind that, and I'll touch on it here during the review. But given the fact that she does share a body with the Legacy Arcee toy, it does at least kind of make sense for the context of this release. That being said, if you've seen my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at Road Rocket's packaging, then we'll open it up, we'll take a quick look at the instructions, and then we'll see Road Rocket herself in both vehicle and robot modes. Naturally, I'll be doing some group shots and comparisons today, and then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So Road Rocket comes in your deluxe size Velocitron collection special edition packaging. You can see there's an open window right here with the toy actually kind of sticking out of it, funny enough. You get the name down here, complete with the G2 Autobot symbol. Something that not even the Legacy Laser Prime can manage. I swear they've been very inconsistent with faction symbols here over the last few years. It still kills me that my G2 Bruticus set doesn't have a single Generation 2 Decepticon logo anywhere on its body. But that's a personal gripe. We can see all of our branding and everything. We see some artwork of the motorcycle mode here up top, as well as a render of that mode. And then across this corner, we see some new artwork for Road Rocket's robot mode. And in her artwork, she has her blades attached much like Arcee does on her forearms there. Here's a close-up of that artwork. And then on the back, we get renders of the toy in vehicle and robot modes. Clearly, these renders are just the Arcee renders. Same pose and everything, just updated colors and a new head. But this does at least show off the new paint apps on the blades that, when combined, turn them into a shuriken. Because part of the redesign of this character was to reimagine her as a female ninja type character. So the shuriken kind of works, plus it kind of, sort of, maybe resembles the buzzsaw weapon that came with the original Road Rocket. Now, I do wish that maybe they had switched up the accessories and actually included said buzzsaw weapon, but that either wasn't part of the itinerary or it was outside of the budget. So, real shame there. All right, so that's the packaging. As great as it is. Now let's go ahead and open it up. Okay, now we get the instruction sheet for Road Rocket. You can see her name and render right here in the middle, and then all the branding and logos around the edge. We open this up. This shows you how to attach her blades to her bike in two different configurations, either off to the side or mounted on top of the seat area. And then we see the vehicle mode being transformed to the robot mode. Works the same way as it does for Arcee. Gives you the basic vehicle mode, basic robot mode. And then we see all the different ways to kind of pose and configure the character with her accessories. You can take the wheel off and split it in two, make it a big backpack, which is very similar to, the original Road Rockets. You can attach the blades on the arms. You can take this off and have her wield it as like a little drone thing. You can make the blades into a shield. A bunch of different ways you can go about this. So you get a lot of options. Whether you want to make her look more like G2 Road Rocket, like the original, or just something else entirely, it's up to you. Now we're going to see Road Rocket's vehicle mode, and it's a mostly red, just recolor of Arcee's. Get some nice blue lining or striping right here on the seat area, which becomes the forearms. And you get a little bit of blue underneath, but that's really just for the robot kibble. I do like the newly painted blades. Get this nice, just really shiny black paint coating the star patterns, which help make this look like ninja stars when they're together. You get the kickstand, which is still fully functional. Front wheel still turns. Get some nice red striping around the rims of the tires, which is a nice touch. Small little black details here, some there. Overall, it's a nice looking motorcycle mode. Now, it does drive pretty well. The wheels don't drag or anything like that. Now, you'll see that I have the blades in the side configuration. You can stick them up here, but I've noticed that it's incredibly tight. And I think the reason for that is that on the regular Arcee, this area is not painted. But here, not only do they paint like the surface, but they paint down into the little ports, which makes it a tighter fit. And I don't really want to forcefully cram clear plastic into these little holes. You might end up breaking the little post off or something. And you can see it really pushes against it. there's a little bit of warping going on in these hexagonal shaped holes where the straight edges are starting to round a little bit, and it's causing some small unnecessary damage to the toy that I'm not really a fan of, so I'm just going to not put them in that particular spot. If you want to go for it, you can. Just be aware that they're probably going to fit a lot differently than they did for Arcee, and the likelihood of damage, I think, is a bit higher. Here's a quick comparison with Arcee, and you can see not only are the plastic colors changed out for the blue to red, but even the windshield and clear plastic here for the blades are different colors. They're a lot paler on this newer release, whereas Arcee gets a much deeper blue. Now, I always like the look of nice red motorcycles. However, I do think Arcee's coloring works better for her. The blues used for her both with paint and plastic come out a lot shinier and therefore nicer looking than the very flat reds that are used for Road Rocket here. So they both look good, but I do feel that Arcee just carries herself a little bit better. She looks like a nice brand new motorcycle, whereas the Road Rocket toy looks a little bit worn in, like it's been on the road for a few thousand miles already. So yeah, not bad looking, but just it doesn't give that like shiny new motorcycle look that the Arcee toy does. So I do find myself liking the vehicle mode for Arcee just a little bit more. Now I unfortunately don't have the original Road Rocket toy, but what I do have is its recolor, the Robots in Disguise character Sideways. So same mold, just different coloration. So if you want, just imagine these yellows being red and you'll get something a lot closer. And you can see pretty different looking motorcycle modes. This is more of a sports bike than anything. Something you would see, jumping around on ramps, whereas this is more of a just standard motorcycle hobbyist bike, something you'd probably see in an urban setting. So, very different bikes, and that's obviously because this toy was meant to be, Arcee first and foremost, and then just kind of got quickly retooled into Road Rocket. One thing that's pretty cool about the old toy is you can see that the buzzsaw weapon kind of goes over the wheel, like it's almost part of the actual frame of the wheel, and it just kind of blends in. Now, something funny I actually just learned in prepping for this video, this buzzsaw thing, the official name for it, at least for the Road Rocket incarnation, is Lightsaber. You can see why that name may not be, reused and just lost to the annals of history, because imagine them trying to call this thing a lightsaber and just the legal backlash that would ensue. So, yeah, that was the original name for his buzzsaw, was Lightsaber. Spelled as 2 words as opposed to 1, but still, that's some shaky territory with how, huge Star Wars has become. I don't think Disney's going to let that one slide. Now, as far as a personal point of preference, I do like the motorcycle design for the newer toy more, just as a sleek-looking bike. But you also got to remember that this is based off a more modern vehicle. This is based off of something like the 1980s, maybe early 90s, depending on when they actually came up with this design. So naturally, it's not going to be as sleek or aerodynamic looking. And again, it does look like some sort of a stunt bike or sporting bike, so it's going to be just a little bit bulkier in frame and composition. So it's nice for what it is. And I do think it is a shame that the new toy is so far off the mark as far as recreating this vehicle mode. But going by pure aesthetics, I do think this is the better looking bike. This just looks like something that'd be much more eager to hop onto than this guy right here. Alright, and now we get to see Road Rocket's robot mode. And for the most part, it's just the same as Arcee's. We've seen there's been no retooling done to the body. The only thing new we get is the head, which does look very, very nice. Looks like a very nice modern take on Road Rocket's ninja-like mask design. So I think it looks really good. You get the very awesome G2 Autobot symbol right there on the collar area, which is something that even the old Laser Optimus Prime couldn't replicate, right? And you can see the configuration that I have her in is the one that's meant to evoke her classic look, with having wheels just kind of coming off the shoulders. Now, she handles it very differently than the old toy. The old toy, the wheels actually came off of her shoulders, stuck straight off. Here it's more of a backpack, but it just kind of gives that very similar look and makes her a little more streamlined rather than having this massive kibble sticking off to the sides. We can see the blades, placed together to form that cool ninja star, which you can have her hold in her hand. And one thing that's neat is that the 5mm peg that's formed by joining these together does appear to be slightly smaller than the actual pegs that are on the edges, so it can fit onto her forearms much more easily. We can see that here. goes right in there, not too much friction. So if you want her either, using this as a shield or just kind of having the Ninja Star mounted to her forearm or something, this will actually work, and you shouldn't have to worry about any sort of breakage or anything. Now, of course, there's a number of configurations you can do for this figure. You can have it like this. You can use the Arcee configuration where the windshield area is raised higher up and the wheel is just kind of hanging down off the back. You can take this off and make it like a little drone thing to hold in her hand, which I think is one of the doofiest looking weapons ever, but hey, you can do that. Me personally, I'm just gonna leave her like this with the cool backpack wheel thing going on here. Now, as far as the tolerances, the posability and everything, obviously the posability is the same as Arcee. The tolerances, I feel, are actually overall better on this toy. The two big issues I had with my copy of Arcee is that the waist didn't snap together well, so she could like flop backwards, and then the knees, there wasn't anything really securing this transformation joint in place. So what would often happen is when I go to bend the knees, instead of them bending, it would just do this. So now you can actually feel like an actual real click when I push these in, and it does help hold the knees together a lot better. So I think overall the QC on her and the tolerances are better than Arcee, at least between my copies. One thing that actually got worse though is that this windshield area can come off. And that was true for the Arcee toy, but it held in there a lot better. This one does tend to pop off a lot when I'm transforming her, so I don't know if that's a universal thing. Just be wary of it. You don't want to, risk dropping this thing on a hard floor more than you have to, because it is clear plastic. You could crack that windshield pretty easily. So just be aware that is a piece that may flop off of there. If you do have a copy like mine, I guess the upside to that is if you really don't like having all the vehicle kit on the back, you can remove a fair, amount of it. I mean, you still have the handlebars there, but might make her a little cleaner looking. And yeah, that's kind of the laydown on how the robot mode looks and how it functions. And here again is Road Rocket's mold-made Arcee in her robot mode. And I have her in, what's Arcee's default configuration, having the arm blades on the forearms or the wrists, and having the backpack configured like this with the wheel just kind of hanging down, just to evoke her Transformers Prime incarnation. And I like the fact that you have these options to configure them differently in ways that look the way their original, designs are supposed to look, because it helps them stand apart from one another. And between the different colors, different color layouts, and the new heads, these two can at least, at a glance, not look like the exact same toy, which is, always the goal when you're recoloring or retooling something, is to try to set it apart from, what it's being based off of. Unless maybe it's supposed to be the same character and it's just a new color scheme for them. So I do like this. I do like that each one can kind of stand on its own. I think they both have very good looking robot modes. The Arcee figure was something I had to warm up to because I really wasn't expecting this massive departure from her Prime design to where she's, heavily G1ified. But over time I've actually really come to like this design. I think it looks really good, and if I were to envision the character of Transformers Prime Arcee existing in a G1 universe, this is more or less what I would picture, so it actually kind of works out. Now, of course, there is the topic and the discussion of Road Rocket's gender swap, and the character has always been portrayed as male, whether it's the old character bios, the Japanese continuity, Robot Masters. Road Rocket has always been a dude, and it was decided for whatever reason by the designers that they wanted this mold to be retooled into some female ninja, and they settled on Road Rocket being that female ninja. If you ask me, if you were determined to go that route, this exact mold, head sculpt and all, would have worked really well for a Nightbird. If you really wanted a female ninja, I mean, Nightbird is the quintessential female ninja in Transformers. But they decided to go with the gender swap thing, which, I mean, it would not be my first choice. It's not my preference. When I see these toys, I see them as upgrades or updates to older figures, especially a character like Road Rocket that hasn't had a new mold ever. So I was expecting, that character, not some alternate universe female variation of the character. It's fine for what it is. It looks really good, and as a female Road Rocket, it looks great. I'm a little disappointed that's what they went with. I was hoping for some retooling, particularly in the chest area, maybe even the limbs, to make them more blocky looking, to give us the male Road Rocket character. So, you know, I'm not 100% crazy about what they did. I think for what it is, it looks, you know, fantastic. Looks like a really, really good female Road Rocket. But my preference would have been to just leave the character alone. Do the retooling necessary to make it look more like the classic G2 figure. And, you know, we're going to get plenty of female characters out of this mold as it is. We already have a Flame War coming. We know that. You could do Nightbird using this Road Rocket head. You could do the Autobot recolor all the way back from the 2005 box set, whose name currently escapes me. I think it's Fire or something. I can't think of it off the top of my head at this moment. But, you know, it's not like we were really hurting for possible female characters from this mold. It's a really good mold to cover a bevy of characters. So having it be used for a male character, it's not like it would have been the end of the world. We're not stifling diversity in any way. I mean, there's lots of options. So I really wish Road Rocket would have been made male, because then you could have really had some fun with this. You could have recolored this into Robots in Disguise Sideways, or basically just swap out the red for yellow without having to gender swap sideways. You could release the long-awaited G2, you know, Laser Cycle Jazz, which was a canceled toy based off the original Road Rocket, and had it work for that without making it a female Jazz. There's nothing saying they can't go ahead and eventually, you know, retool this to give it a male body type and release those characters. But seeing them set a precedent for gender swapping this character makes it far more likely they may gender swap any characters derived from the Road Rocket design. And again, I'm all about having, you know, more female Transformers. I think fembots are, you know, drastically underrepresented, and obviously there's historical reasons for that, right? It was a boys' toy line, marketing was different then, and I do like that figures like this exist, but there are plenty of options out there that don't require you to recycle or repurpose a male character into a female one, especially if you're trying to claim that this is the character from, you know, what they say is the G2 universe. It makes you think, all right, this is the Generation 2 continuity, like the one, the main one that we all know and love. Not like a G2 universe somewhere out there, the one. That's kind of the implication. And of course people argue, well, it doesn't explicitly state that. It's like, okay, well, I get that. But there is some level of implication expectation there. Just like if you saw something that said, you know, G1 universe, let's say it's like G1 universe Megatron, but now Megatron is a purple and red female character that turns into a semi-truck. You'd be like, what? You'd be like, well, you know, it could be in some G1 continuity out there. I'm like, okay, well now I think you're being a little bit, just a tiny bit disingenuous there. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not crazy about it. Finished product is fine, but it's a practice in, you know, toy lines and media and stuff that I'm not super fond of. There are plenty of great female characters to choose from. You don't have to just cop out and swap the male characters to female. And here again, standing in for G2 Road Rocket is our Robots in Disguise Sideways. So same mold, different colors. So this is what the robot mode, you know, is supposed to look like. And you can see what they were going for here with trying to recreate the motorcycle wheel kibble on the shoulders. And I am happy they found a way to compact this down, because his kibble is frankly kind of silly looking. And I mean, this guy could never walk through a door ever. Just super wide kibble that doesn't fold away or anything. It's just always out there. So, you know, I think that's a bit of a shame that he's so goofy looking, because it's otherwise a very cool toy. It's got a great transformation. You know, when we were getting to that tail end of G2, where you started getting these more highly articulated molds, utilizing a lot of ball joints, that's when it was really starting to set itself apart from G1 instead of just being, you know, a recolor line. You were getting these brand new molds, which they were still retaining some of that G1 clunkiness, but you can see they're actually able to move around now. You can get them in greater poses. So it's a shame the line ended what it did, because it had a lot to offer. There are a lot of great toys planned that never saw the light of day. So I think he is a very, very solid toy. And maybe the static pose isn't showing it off, but you can see just how much he can do, right? The shoulders move all around. He's got the bicep articulation, swing the shoulders out. He's got the waist swivel. He's got like a kind of a knee swivel because of the ball joints. He can bend his knees. He's got the head that moves around. I mean, you know, he can do anything you would expect a toy from the 90s to do, and maybe even then some. Plus, oh yeah, the light up feature still works on mine. Hold on, where's the button? I forgot what the button is on this thing. It's here somewhere. Button. I can make this light up. I just gotta remember how. Is it that? Oh, there it is. Haha! See? Still works. Even after all these years. How cool is that? So, you know, it's a pretty solid little toy. Again, finding a way to compact that shoulder kibble would have been nice, but it is what it is. So I do think that, you know, as a robot, she looks better. She looks less goofy. but I really miss just how much of the detail didn't carry over because of how much they were just reusing Arcee's design. You see, like, the chest details, abdomen details don't really match up at all. Legs are completely different. She ends up getting wheels on her legs, whereas his are fully formed on the shoulders there because she only really has one wheel up here split in two. So, again, some more retooling to put her closer to the original, I think, would have been great. Now, I think what would have been even cooler, like by far, is if instead of just re-including Arcee's weapons, painting up like a ninja star, which is fine on its own, if they had given her a new weapon that looks something like this. Big old, just buzzsaw on an arm. It might not be as ninja-like and maybe not as fitting for a supposed ninja character, but again, we're looking for an update. We're looking for this character. Just, better articulation, better proportions. Maybe throw in some new stuff if it's additional, but I don't think anybody likes when you take away stuff that's there. Even if you replace it with something else, we're kind of wanting to get the whole package. So I don't know if she really succeeds as a whole package update to Road Rocket. More of like an Easter egg or an homage, which coming from a collector standpoint is not usually considered ideal. Now, is it good enough? I think so. I do. I do like this toy. I think she looks fine. I'm not bothered that she exists at all. I mean, it's an excuse to get some form of Road Rocket. And at least they got, some of the small details like the G2 symbol right on her. But there is a big part of me that wishes they put her at least a little bit closer to the source material. Like, even if you're going to keep her as a female character, change some of the sculpted details to make her somewhat resemble the old toy. Because right now, she really is just a head-swapped Arcee. And while Road Rocket isn't a super famous character, I don't think he's so obscure to where he doesn't deserve to get a little bit more originality and, be something a little more than just a recolor head swap. Like, that's Power Dasher level of obscurity. I feel he could have been given something just a little bit better. And this completes our look at the brand new Transformers Legacy Road Rocket. Despite my minor grievances with some of the finer details of this toy, I do think it's a great figure. I think it looks good, it comes from a really nice mold, especially because my copy seems to be functionally a little bit better than my copy of Arcee, with, better knees and all that. So it's genuinely fun to play with. I always like motorcycle Transformers. I like the idea of them. They don't always turn out great, but I feel this is, one of the better attempts at a motorcycle Transformer. Very sleek looking, highly posable, nothing really compromised there. So it's good. If you're really just craving a Road Rocket toy and you don't really care about the finer details, I think you'll be more than happy with this. If the lack of resemblance to the source material bothers you, I can totally understand that. Bugs me a little bit, but I still think the toy is worth picking up regardless because it just makes a very nice looking figure and, just looks very much at home in the Speedia 500 where it's racing against other, generally fast vehicles. Not really sure why like a semi-truck and a hatchback is in the race. She definitely feels more at home in a, speed race than those two, but it's a really solid toy. So regardless of my misgivings, I do recommend this one. I think it is one of the cooler deluxes that they put in this assortment. Of course, that is just how I feel about Road Rocket. So now I want to know what you all think of this toy. Do you care about, the changes that were made? Do you care about the gender swapping thing? Does it bug you at all? Or do you think, none of that stuff really matters? Do you plan on picking this toy up? Or do you not want it for one reason or another? Any and all feedback is always welcome in that comment section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at the brand new Transformers Legacy Velocitron Speedia 500 Collection Road Rocket. And with all that said, I will see you next time.